Hi everyone, so I'm going to run through the basics of setting up a walkthrough animation with your scene. So to do this, first you want to be conscious of the animation timeline down here. So this is giving you a reading of frames. So if you look in your render setup, it's possible to output all of the frames which are displayed down here. So currently it's set to 1000, but we can configure this. So we'll use film, and film works to a rate of 24 frames per second. And for your animations, you don't want them to be too long because it will be more to render. However, you're probably going to want something like 1 or 2 minutes. So if I wanted a 1 minute animation, I'm going to need to multiply 24, so the frames per second, per 60 seconds. So that's going to give me 1440, and I'm going to hit OK on that. And that's going to extend my timeline outwards. Then I'm going to create a camera, and then we'll create a path, and we'll connect the two. So let's create a target camera. I want to draw it out straight, so I'm going to use my grid snaps. Just like this, right click twice. Then I'm going to come onto my model. Actually, we should give that a clear name. I'll call it walkthrough camera 1. And this is not going to need a target. So I'm just going to switch that over to a free. And then coming back to the model, what I want to do is create a path for the camera to follow. Let's turn this one off, which can be set at eye height. So to do that, I'm going to use my midpoint snaps only. And then I'm going to come to create, and I'm going to create shapes, splines, create a line. And I'm going to click on all of the midpoints of my lines which are defining my landings, which means my path will be perfectly centered. Right click twice to cancel that. Yep. So then I'm activating my move tool with W, right clicking to get the type in options, and I'm going to take that up to human height using the offset function. Like so. Now I need to connect my camera to that path. So to do that, I'm going to click on the camera, come over to the motion tab, and I need to assign a position controller here. So I'm assigning controllers. I'm selecting position, and then I'm selecting assign controller. And then I need to choose path constraint, and I'm going to hit OK. And then I'm going to choose add path, and I'm going to choose that path. And now the camera is connected to it, and we'll move along it for the duration of the animation as we've set it up. So as you can see, moving along, the camera will follow the path for the duration of the animation. There are a couple of things that we want to be able to tailor. One is the position and one is the rotation. So you can see the camera is, I can play back the animation, and you can see that it's not looking uphill as a human would be walking up the model. So to tailor this, we can assign keys, which are a key way of controlling animations in your scene, and each object, such as the camera, will have a set of, I need to uncheck that, a set of keys which can be ascribed to it. So to activate some of these, or to create some rather, I'm going to use the autokey function. The first thing I'll show you how to do is adjust the position in case you need to slow down your camera on some of your corners. So I think my corners aren't too severe, so it should be okay. I might want to think about speeding up the overall animation as well. You don't want it to be too fast though. So say I wanted to slow down on this corner here. What I'm going to need to do is ascribe a position key here and a position key here, and then I can make adjustments to those. So what I can do is hit auto key, and then I just need to move to roughly that position to create that key. And then I can move along to the other end of the corner and make a movement which is going to create another key, and then I can deactivate this. And so say I wanted to slow down that corner, I'm just going to need to increase the space between these two keys here. So if I pull this out here, it means the camera is going to get to that position faster. And then if I take this one out, it's going to spend longer on that corner. So you should see a pretty dramatic slowdown now. And then I could increase that more just to exaggerate the effect of what's happening. It's going to be getting to this point really quickly or faster. And then it will slow down here. And so I've got keys that I can control. And I'm going to want to do the same thing. Let's get this a bit more normal. I'm going to need to do the same thing for the rotation of the camera. So let's head to the start of the path. And so we're going to want to set a rotation key looking uphill. So I'm using the E key to activate my rotation tool. I'm going to turn auto key back on. And then when I make that change to point it uphill, that's going to record as a key there. And then every time I notice that the camera is not looking in the correct direction of the path, I can put one of those keys in. And you can see down here that the key is being left behind. So here, let's set a rotation key. Here, let's set a rotation key. Here, let's set a rotation key. And here, let's set a rotation key. So now I can play back and I should have something far more usable. And then you can of course come to your camera's view to test what the output would be like and to see what changes you might want to make. So I can see I've got a bit of a rotation issue there, which I'm going to want to tailor. I may also need to bring my camera up a little bit, which would just involve bringing the original path up a bit more. And then if I wanted to render this out, you just have to adjust your settings within the render setup options. So you want to set this to be every frame. So I'm just going to set it to active time segment. And you need to set a location for this. So again, working with the correct output size. And then you need to locate a place for your files to go. So what you want to do there is just create a location. Where you're going to put all of your frames, and then you can use a program like Premiere Pro to put your frames together as a video. So you wouldn't need to do much in that program. It's just about putting your frames together to output some type of video. So I'm going to choose the location for the files to go. choose what you want to save them as. So I'd use either a JPEG or a PNG. A PNG will retain more data, but a JPEG will have the sky, so that might be a bit faster. And then you can give them a name, and then a number will be ascribed to that, so they're all in order. So now if I were to click render, it's going to render each frame, and then it will render the next frame, and then it will render the next frame. Bearing in mind that I made a mistake there of just not being in the correct view. So let's lock it to that view and then render. So you can see here that it's going to go through and render all of those frames. And then each of those frames are going to end up in that folder, which you specified. So from that point, you can compile those frames to amount to your walkthrough. So that is the kind of bare bones of producing a walkthrough. There's a lot of finer ways of tailoring your work within Max, and many ways of assigning and controlling the keys, which obviously feed into pretty complex animations, but you are able to get a good sense of your scheme using this process.